Welcome back here into the studio, 2:01 p.m. as we move through this Tuesday afternoon, and we welcome Carlos Clanton to the stream, a Norfolk City councilman and quite frankly, a man of many hats, of many different areas of expertise as well. We just talked about how you are the singing councilman here in Norfolk. We'll save that for another interview.
Another day.
That's right. That's right. For now, we want to talk about housing because you're also very deeply involved in housing, especially here in Norfolk. And creating the housing market where everybody can thrive and sort of get the lifestyle that they want and they need and that they've worked so hard to have. And it looks like the federal government is now taking steps to hopefully try and push towards that same initiative for the first time in a while. Yeah. A housing bill passed through Congress some time ago. President Trump elected not to sign it into law, but he also did not veto it, and so it became law. And it includes a number of provisions, over 40 provisions, that are hoping to create more housing supply. That's the primary goal of the bill. Before we dive into some of these provisions, I'm just wondering, you do all this work in the community to try and create available and affordable housing. You see a bill like this get passed into law. What's that like for you to just kind of see other people working towards that same goal?
I see it as another piece of the puzzle that's helping us, providing leaders at the local level the necessary resources and the tools that they need so that we can do what's best. This is not a cookie cutter approach, and there's no silver bullet to kind of solve the entire housing issue. But getting as many resources, our General Assembly did several affordability issues this year for bills that they were passed. So now we have the federal government, we've got our state, and the only thing I can always ask for is that when the federal government or the state puts any type of mandates, that they always fund those mandates. But we'll take what we have for right now. But those things are all different pieces of the puzzle that allow us to figure out what's going to meet the needs for a city like Norfolk, which is very unique.
Well, let's start there. We're going to get to these provisions, but you talk about Norfolk and how unique it is. What are the specific challenges that Norfolk faces when it comes to this issue?
Oh, wow. So you look at that in the respect, we know that we're a city that's pretty much built out. We're a very old city. And so what you're going to find in the city of Norfolk isn't a whole lot of new build, but a lot of adaptive reuse, rehabilitation, rehab, but then also looking at resiliency. We know that we flood. We get a really, and we're working on a flooding project right now with that resiliency and that wall, and we can see the cost of that continuing to rise. But then we're also home to the world's largest military base, naval base. And so when you look at all of that, we also have to take in that consideration that what we do also can't interfere with the military. So there's a whole lot of, just on the surface level there, some small things right up front that make it challenging for us. So you're going to also look at infill. So figuring out those type of things there. But I think this bill gives us some opportunities to look at some areas addressing zoning that would definitely help us.
Now, you mentioned Norfolk mostly built out. I believe 98% is a number that I've seen you give in previous interviews.
Yeah, 98%. And when you think about it, you mentioned I chair the Mayor's Housing Commission. And in that ordinance that was established, it talked about our two major areas for redevelopment. That's MacArthur Center as well as Military Circle. They're both controlled by the city, but they're large areas of land there. We're not like our sister cities in Virginia Beach or Chesapeake or even Suffolk, where you have a lot of land where you can take that opportunity of doing some very large projects. For us, we have to be very strategic, and we have to make sure that whatever we do, it's going to meet the needs of those who live here, those who are trying to attract here, but most importantly, when we talk about this affordability piece, this is everything from our teachers so that they can be able to not have to come all the way from North Carolina to live somewhere, to be able to work in the city of Norfolk, but also our city employees. So we've got to find this right balance to be able to find housing affordability and attainability, because home ownership is another major issue that we're trying to find here within the city of Norfolk, and to create an environment that will help us.
And, as a part of that, you mentioned repurposing. When it comes to repurposing, does that mean existing buildings that were originally for other uses and turning them into housing? Is that specifically?
Yeah, I think that is exactly. I'll give you a perfect example. If you go down, there's one of the tallest buildings downtown, Icon. The Icon building used to be the Bank of America building. And so when Bank of America building now is right across the street, But there you go. You have a building that isn't just market rate, but that building also has subsidized housing units in it. And so we're using something that's not going to be used for commercial, but it's meeting the needs for housing within our city. Also, if I could go back to that report that you were talking about with our interim report, in that interim housing report for the city of Norfolk, it also identified that we have a lot of high wage earners who are dipping down into some of the spaces that should be for other individuals who are lower wage earners. And so that's also creating a compression within the city because we want to create more market rate so that they can be in a class of housing that they can afford and be there. But then also we want to create opportunities for those who are in that middle, our teachers, our city workers and things like that, so that they can have that space as well as those who are on the lower end who need that space so that they can be able to make themselves more financially stable so that they can move up.
When you talk about those higher wage individuals or families sort of dipping down, have you pinpointed a reason for that?
Well, to be quite honest, is that so when you start looking at it, I've learned a lot in this process when they start talking about the capital deck and all these other different things. So when you right now, you have some developers who could go in with what we call LIHTC, which is a lot of subsidized housing, and it's much more affordable because you have a lot more guarantees and money, federal and so forth, that can support that, which means that you're producing less market rate, which may be somebody who's making $80,000 or more. So then you go into some spaces where they're like, okay, I can't live here because you only have a number of units that are in my category. So you start looking at other spaces that are available, and so they start dipping down into where you could afford more, you could afford to pay more, but you're into some spaces right now that might be more reserved for another individual in their income level. So we're finding that, and so again, this gets into the housing availability and the housing stock, making sure that we've got a great mix, and that's where you look at MacArthur Center, you look at Military Circle, and look at some of the other actions that we have across the city, and the plan that Norfolk's Housing Commission will put forth in October, November will address that, being strategic about how we move forward.
Okay, I love to hear. I mean, you guys are really deep into the details here, which is just great to hear, and you know, we look forward to that report in the fall. Okay, let's talk about some specific provisions from this federal housing bill that we have. One in particular, purchase limits for corporate landlords who own 350 homes or more, right? So these are industries where the goal is to buy hundreds of properties and then you can rent those properties out, or short-term lease those properties, rent those properties out. This is putting limits on those landlords. Is this something that we found is an issue in Norfolk? Will this impact Norfolk in particular?
You know, this is interesting. This was a question that came up. There are pockets that I will say. I had one neighborhood that is in Super Ward 7 where there are several homes that are owned by investors or individuals who don't live in the area. But I will say that after further review and looking at it, that Norfolk really does have a good mix. We're not one of those communities that has an overabundance of corporate individuals who are owning homes. The issue that we have is that we just don't have enough housing stock for individuals who want to move into housing. 56% of our residents here are renters. They're not homeowners. But then on the other side, 40% of the entire region subsidized housing is right here in the city of Norfolk, when we only have about 17-18% of the entire population that's in the area. So that's a challenge. So we're trying to figure out ways. And one of the things we also look at is that we want to create policy that will support affordability, attainability, but we also are cautious about not opening the floodgates and really encouraging our sister cities, and I'm working with my colleagues, especially through the Hampshire Roads Planning District Commission, to say, don't turn away from finding and producing affordable housing, attainable housing within your communities. Norfolk shouldn't be the floodgate for everybody to send individuals, but that this really has to be a regional thing. And we talk about regional working cooperation a lot, but this is one item that I truly believe that we can work together as a region, all the cities. And this is something that really spurs into our economic development, spurs into supporting the military. We've got to make sure that we can tackle this together.
What type of challenge does that military presence provide when it comes to housing availability?
One of the things we're looking at, there was a discussion, well, that we've seen it on the news, that there were a lot of military, naval personnel who were committing suicide. And one of the things that came out of that was that when they were in dock, a lot of the, enlisted were staying on the boats. And so I know that there is a concerted effort right now from the CNO to move, when they're in dock, moving them off the ships and into military housing. Well, we've also looked at, okay, well, if you're moving into military housing, what happens to the individuals who are already in military housing? They are now coming into the community. So this is not a bad thing, but it is a reality that we have to look at and figure out, okay, how do we keep this balance? And most importantly, how can we generate more housing within our area, which gets into the other piece that I think that this bill also addresses, which is the financing of it. Allowing more tools to be in the toolbox so that you can meet the financial needs of developers so that they can open up and build more.
Mm-hmm. And when we talk about those financial needs of developers, even just talking to you to start this interview, I almost feel like these next three provisions that I'm going to bring up maybe don't apply to Norfolk as much because, as you said, it is so built out already. There's developers' ability to skip environmental reviews if a new home is between two buildings that have already been approved for those environmental regulations.
No, but that's a good one, though.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
And that can still apply to us because that's one of the other things I hear all the time is that it is so cumbersome with the zoning process, the application process. And so that's one of the things that we're looking at. How can we streamline that? There's even been discussions of being able to utilize AI in the application process so that when you get to the more granular details, it can really be face-to-face and you can spend that time. But then also streamlining. And I think one of the other things that we talked about was pattern books. And the city of Norfolk has several pattern books that are already there. But just imagine if we could get a pattern book, particularly middle housing. WPA has been working with the city of Norfolk on this particular item here, and that is middle housing. We have that could solve a lot of issues for us, especially finding that middle of the road where we don't have these big box apartment buildings, but then also we don't have the land to have a single house and an acre of land. So that middle housings, where you kind of have these duplexes or triplexes or even those garden court opportunities, but being able to have a pattern book that the city has already approved, architectural look, design, and developers could come in and builders could come in and say, hey, I want to do this, and we could be able to hand it and say, here's what's already approved. We can cut a lot of red tape and speed up the process.
Those pattern books at pre-approved housing designs, and as a part of this bill, there will be grant programs that make that a much more efficient and affordable process. So another one, very helpful. And then making it easier and more affordable for manufactured homes to be built.
Oh, wow. This was one of those, because first time you think about manufacturing housing, the first thing you think about is maybe we're talking about a trailer park. I mean, what are we talking about? But with the National League of Cities, I had the opportunity to go to Columbus, Ohio last year. And I had an opportunity with several other local elected officials to visit a plant where they were doing these prefabricated homes. And I could tell you, the finished product, you could not tell. We saw it in the actual factory where they were building it, and you're looking at all this, and then they took us out to see it in real life. This is what it looks like. This could help speed up a lot of things, and so I know that at the state level and at the federal now, they're laxing some of these regulations around that. That would speed up a lot of things, and the biggest issue around that one is that we know that we have not only just a housing shortage, but we also have a shortage in some of the subcontractors that could be able to support. So if you're able to do this fabricated manufactured home, it would reduce on that. It's not eliminating, but it helps to kind of plug the hole in that gap that we have so that we could speed up that process and be able, for some of that missing middle that we have, to be able to fix that problem.
So three provisions that all could potentially have impacts here in Norfolk. I wonder, we mentioned deregulation. A lot of these provisions do go back to a form of deregulation. Now, this is obviously something that was worked on. It was bipartisan. It was negotiated for some time before becoming law. Obviously, there's been thought put into it by lawmakers. I wonder, with the situation that we had in 2008 in this country and the housing crisis that emerged, and a lot of that, there is very credible reporting that points to deregulation as maybe some of the steps that led to that crash taking place. When a bill comes out and deregulation in a number of different provisions is a part of its core. Is there an inherent sort of almost what's the word I'm looking for? Instinctual sort of cringe to that, or maybe not cringe to that, but hesitancy when it just comes to that word because of how it has impacted housing in the past?
I think that for some, it would be that one. But I think really for us, no matter what, you're going to have to always have thoughtful oversight.
Right.
And so even though you may have some deregulation, there is still a lot of control that the locality has. I think that this particular bill is saying that we shouldn't be so stringent on some of these things here because we've got to loosen up the faucet a little bit to try to get this thing flowing here. But I also think that we have two different conversations that are really going on with that one, and that's the difference between the financial regulation and then also the unnecessary permitting and zoning regulatory things that are in place. And so we can't at the local level control the finance piece and over that. However, we can control the zoning. And I think that wherever we have opportunities, and we are, and even with my housing commission right now, we're meeting with developers. We have a subcommittee where they're coming in and we're looking at zoning things. How can we make this more efficient? Because I've realized in my learning process as a councilman here and going through this, that just some things like stormwater, how much that can increase the cost. Also, the mandatory parking spaces, which then leads into another question, making sure we can have a robust public transit system. We know that we fall short there. HRT does a great job, but there's so much more that we could be doing. How can we get more cars off the road? If we get more cars off the road, then that means that we don't have to have so many parking spaces. Parking spaces take up land, and we don't have a whole lot of land. So it's everything, it's interconnected. And so you're constantly looking at these things to make sure that it's not one thing that you go in that causes an adverse effect somewhere else, but that you're really taking care of two different things or two to three different things in one action and being thoughtful about it.
Yeah, again, the thoughtfulness and clearly the care that you've put into this it is emboldening to see, right? To know that you guys are thinking about so many of the different opportunities, even just to find more space. And of course, when we talk about 2008, as you mentioned, so much of that goes back to the lending system, subprime loans, and how that sort of grew into an unsustainable situation. So a very important distinction, and one that I'm certainly glad that you made. When you kind of look at some of the changes that are happening elsewhere in Norfolk, you mentioned MacArthur Center, you mentioned Military Circle Mall. We also have a casino that is set to open relatively soon here. A resort.
The other city has a casino. We have a resort.
That's right. A resort that is set to open soon here. Thank you for the qualification there. And we're going to be reporting on this more and more.
Oh,
so
definitely.
I need to
and it's
make
on
sure
time and on budget from what they've told us.
On time, on budget, and will certainly be impactful to the city of Norfolk.
Definitely.
How do you see those impacts trickling down into housing, if at all?
Well, and I'll just use a perfect example. So the casino resort is being built right now. The thing about it that I like in that situation is that the higher wage jobs that it's going to generate. Whenever you have and I point this out every time I go out to folks, that this is not subsidized by the city of Norfolk. This is the largest single private investment in the city's history with over $700 million. And so there's a partnership between Boyd and Norfolk State University to train college students to be able to go into gaming. We have all the work that's taking place right across the street in what was formerly Tower Gardens in with the new Greenway and St. Paul's transformation that's taking place there. So whenever you have those type of projects, you're in that type of investment, you're increasing the wage earning ability of individuals. And so you're also increasing employment. Well, with more employment, we need places for people to live. And so they're connected there. So I really believe that what's going to happen with this is going to help us increase that middle income to higher income individuals that are wage earners that are coming into the community and potentially into the city of Norfolk. But it also connects into what the city's also identified as a great revenue generating for us, and that is destination tourism. From everything from the cruise line to the casino resort that's going to take place there, and then also some of the things that we're looking at potentially doing with MacArthur Center there. It creates an ecosystem that will be able to generate revenue. And for what I always say, we generate that revenue so that we can make sure that our neighborhoods see that impact and investment back for them.
That's right. The reinvestment certainly is, a critical piece of any sort of revenue that is generated from new initiatives such as the cruise line or the resort. And I've certainly driven down Waterside when that cruise is parked there, and it's happening. There's as much foot traffic as you'll see anywhere when one of those cruises is parked and people are out and about.
8,000 people every week.
Yeah.
4,000 coming, 4,000 leaving every week.
That's right. And I do want to ask, since we have you here, we talk about that foot traffic, and we talk about bringing in different revenue streams. When you look at downtown Norfolk, you talk about the Icon building turning into more housing, right? And so then not only do you provide the more housing like we've been talking about for this entire chat, but you also now have more people concentrated in that area as well that can go and create commerce in downtown Norfolk. When you look at downtown Norfolk, what's the future of that area, and how close are we to the ideal of what you want that to look like?
So I can speak for myself in this respect, and I'll just use it. The largest item that's right now, and it's on everybody's mind, is about MacArthur Center. I actually opened MacArthur Center up. I was a college student, and I worked in the Lens Crafters and the Fairmont Jewelers there. So I was there for all the fanfare.
Is that right?
All the way, yeah. That was the place to go. But also, people don't realize that MacArthur Center was the last enclosed mall in the entire country. That it was the last one. And so they've moved from that. And so for me, looking at what was happening, the decline that was taking place there, it's a beautiful building, and I've had all types. And I tell folks to continue to send me their suggestions about it. But we have a prime opportunity that I look at it, which is to provide additional housing, to provide, and you've heard discussion around a grocery store and other things. So, but then also to reconnect downtown. I think there's an opportunity to reconnect the grid of downtown. Right now, you've got MacArthur that takes up a large space, and then really you just have Monticello, Granby Street, and then City Hall Avenue, and maybe Waterside Drive that goes around. And then that really doesn't show the true essence of all of our downtown. And so I think there's an opportunity there to be able to find that mix. And that's what our Housing Commission was tasked with. It said, taking in consideration MacArthur Center, Military Circle, that these are the two major opportunities. So I guess you can just say mixed use. And making sure that we've got some housing opportunities.
Would you prefer working at Lens Crafters or the jewelry store?
Oh man, both had. I guess I'm wearing glasses now, so but it was always good.
Okay, you got a little jewelry on too now.
got a little bit. I got my classroom there, but no, I enjoyed it. It was a good time.
Okay,
great experience.
Very good. Opened up MacArthur Mall. Emotional for you on the last day. Did you swing by?
I didn't get a chance to, but I'm going to try to see if I can't get back through there. I know that they're also working on an auction of items there, so if individuals are sentimental like myself, go get a piece of MacArthur Center.
There we go. Now, were you working at both places concurrently, or did you go one to the other?
So I got the joke of my friends growing up, as they call me the little Jamaican. I always had multiple different jobs, but I worked at Lens Crafters in the morning, and then I would leave and go work at Fred Meyer Jewelers. And so when people were waiting that 1 hour to get their glasses, they'd come over to George, like, well, didn't I just? Yeah, it's the same guy.
Right. Very nice. That's dedication right there. Yeah. Go walking across the mall. Hopefully stopped at the food court at least and got something before starting shift number 2.
That was the thing. That was the thing, yeah.
Okay, good. But listen, we really appreciate you coming in and talking to us. And, we know that you're so deeply dedicated to what's happening here locally. We bring you in to ask about all these federal provisions and it's taken time to answer those questions and provide more insight into how it comes back to those local impacts. We really appreciate it. Is there anything else you want to add before we let you go?
I think that individuals just need to understand that this isn't a one-shot thing. This is great that the federal government has done this. It's great that our state has given ability. And I think that we're going to continue, particularly here in the city of Norfolk. I know there's some regional things, but we're going to continue to work to make sure that our teachers can live here, that our firefighters can have a place that they can live, everyone down from our college students as well as our young professionals, that we're going to create an environment and we're being intentional. Intentionality is the key right now to providing a space that everyone in Norfolk and hopefully within the Hampton Roads regions, my colleagues will continue to work together, that this can be a regional effort to create housing attainability and affordability for all those in Hampton Roads.
Absolutely. You would love to see those graduating classes from Norfolk State and Old Dominion have a sense of hope and optimism about being able to go and live out the American
Exactly.
dream with a place
Absolutely.
that they are comfortable, that they love going home
Yes.
to. So, well, very nice. We appreciate it. And, hopefully we can talk to you again come the fall
Anytime.
as more and more updates come, especially for us here locally.
Definitely, and I have to say this, that I'm the co-chair, and it's my guy. It's the other co-chair is Councilman Jeremy McGee from Super Ward 6, and so we're working as a team on this, and so glad to have him.
Okay, and that is Carlos Clanton from Super Ward 7 here joining us on the same day as the city council meeting, we might add,
In a
which we
couple
know
months.
is an incredible amount of work. So we appreciate the time, and we'll see you again down the road.
I appreciate it. Thank you.